I'm trying to help, trying to get the information out, what's going on behind the scenes,
Right.
so that at least they'll look at their situation and say, oh my gosh, they're really getting sick.
This is Justin Harvey with We Are Change Orlando, and I am here with Joanna of Plant City. Joanna, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you for coming.
Now, Joanna, you have been dealing with a pretty terrible situation with a nasty stench coming from down the block, around your whole community, really, and you've noticed health problems with yourself, your family, and even your fellow neighbors here. What is exactly going on with this smell, and when did this all start?
I didn't start noticing it until my daughter started kindergarten, and we saw this big, black, thick smoke come out from over there. So I thought, well, there's a trailer over there. I thought, oh, the trailer's on fire. So I'm running home, trying to, like get to the fire department so they can get out here and put the fire out because, anyway. So I thought the trailer was on fire. So I called 911. They came out. They said, no, everything's okay. He was just burning what they call mulch, tarp mulch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't think nothing of it, but it was like, but why are we so sick? And so I just kept thinking, Nana kept saying, oh, it's from the pollen and everything. It's just that time of year and everything's going on. So we get through it and I'm just sick. I mean, you know how you do the hacking cough? It's really bad,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're in church. So then first grade, it was like, oh my gosh, what is this smell? And so I started like just kind of trying to figure it out. What's going on? Where's this coming from? And everything like that. And then I kind of pinned it down and trying to, with the farmer across the road. It's just the field and then the tree line and then there's fields over there.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically gave me hints on to just different things. So I went and I researched, well, what is Talone? And I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff's really bad. So, and I kept calling, and the EPC was out here, FDAX was out here. There was different people. They did an air quality with this big silver container. That came out here, and the results that came back, I was kind of floored. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way that could be making us this sick. So I kept just complaining, and seeing my neighbors were sick, and and just, it was always at the same time of year, even before that. And I was like, well, wow, that's kind of odd. So after researching it, then it was just like little clues here and there, and looking at the statutes about it's called pesticide drift, and the University of Florida recognizes under restricted use pesticides, and I can't remember the statement that they quote on it, but it was like, then we were at the Strawberry Festival and seeing how the fields were prepped and doing some more research because I had to go back to square one to try to understand that can't possibly be coming from those fields.
Mm-hmm.
So, watching the air monitoring and just different things that I was like, the farmers wouldn't allow that. It's just been kind of like a journey of a horrific type of awakening to that. The farmers depend on the EPA, they depend on FDAX, and everything, the EPC, DEP, everything is under a statute, under legislation to where everything goes through FDAX, where everybody's calling, like I was calling the EPC, and I was calling the governor's office, and I'm calling all these people. It all falls under FDAX.
And just so everyone knows, what does FDAC stand for?
Oh, it's the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services.
Okay. So you're trying to put together what this smell is
Yeah.
and the coincidental sickness that is arising around the same time. You started along this journey of researching, and did you find any resistance? I mean, where did you get anywhere with this? What started to happen next?
It's when I got to talk to the farmer, and the Strawberry Growers Association called me, and we had an agreement that the farmer wouldn't burn the plastic. He would take it to an incinerator, and where I've got recorded that he's just taking it to another farm. And I thought, well, then someone else is going to have to deal with what I'm dealing with. I'm like, that's not right. So, again, it's looking back on the journey and just putting the pieces together. Like at school, it's like, why is she coming home sick? And one year she was homesick so much that they were going to call, anyway, somebody to come out. I don't know. And I'm just like, well, why is she getting sick? I thought it was something at the school. I thought there was different things. And it wasn't until this year that there's a farm next to the school, and they're applying Talone. That's what they applied on the fields last year, was Talone. And just doing the research. And this year he put in KPAM. He applied KPAM is what it said on the sign. And so I went and I looked up KPAM, and I'm doing the research on KPAM, and I'm just like, this is not good, because I was told, this is secondhand information, that it was worse than this other restricted use pesticide. And I'm like, now how can anything be worse than that one?
Mm-hmm.
But
And which one is that?
dimethyl disulfide.
Okay. Now, is that the Paladin?
That is the brand name that everybody is complaining about, the Paladin.
Okay. What are some of the sickness and health issues that you've noticed, and with your family and with some of your neighbors? I've heard some of them were pretty drastic. I mean, losing your voice for multiple days. What are some of the stories that you've heard from the community?
Yeah, my mom will get sick to her tummy. She gets headaches, and she loses her voice. And she's 75 years old. And it's like, and for my daughter, she gets the headache, the blurry eyes, the nasal, her tummy will hurt. She gets the sore throat, the cough. You sound like a horse. And did I miss anything? Okay. And it's the same for me, except for, there's some days where I'll just pass out and go to sleep. And I'm like, Nana, will you stay here? I'm like, please. I'm like, so I'll take a nap, and it'll be like a 2-hour nap, just trying to recover from whatever's going on.
And none of this happened years ago before they started introducing these pesticides to the strawberry farms. What did this, 2-3 years ago about?
Well, for us, it started in 2013, and then 2014, and now this year, 2015. And I've noticed, and this is my personal opinion, okay? Paladin's been getting a lot of heat for the dimethyl disulfide for, this and that in 2013, it going all the way down to Tampa and everything. And just through the University of Florida and understanding pesticide drift, because they have a whole section on their website for pesticide drift, and the wind, the conditions of depending on, if it's early morning or anything like that. I mean, all of these factors can bloom the restricted use pesticide into gases, and especially like chloropictin and water. I'm like, that forms a toxic in itself. So when they mix Paladin with the chloropictrin, I talked to Yvette Hillier at the EPC, and she was very adamant nothing is supposed to be mixed with Paladin. And I'm like, I'm just listening to her, and I'm thinking, well, I've got a picture where it shows where the chloropictrin was wrote in. So the EPA is saying nothing is supposed to be mixed with the dimethyl disulfide, but I have a picture showing where the chloropictrin was written in. And then I'm still researching this, where it's under, if someone is applying for an experimental permit, that in itself is like, well, is that what we are? Is one big experiment because of the, it escapes my brain. What was the one that was discontinued? There was one that was discontinued, so it was banned because it had to do with the ozone. I even talked to the Strawberry Growers Association on this, and everybody's got their opinions on why it was banned. But I don't care why it was banned. We didn't have this problem before 2013.
Right.
This past Saturday, we had this odor. I mean, I had a mom at the end of the street call me, and she goes, "What's that smell out there?" And she goes, "It's really bad." And I walked out, and I could smell it. It reached the area out here. So when I walked outside, I was holding my breath. I was hoping just to get a little whiff of it, but it was so overwhelming. There was no little whiff to it. I mean, it was just outright horrible. So I told Audrey, I'm like, "Get your gas mask. We're going to get out of here." So I thought, well, everybody's home. I better. So I thought, well, I'll call the sheriff's department. Maybe they'll send someone out. If it's, wherever it's coming from, maybe they'll evacuate the area. So I get on the phone with the sheriff's department. I call the non-emergency line. Then next thing I know, I'm talking to the fire department, and they're coming out here. And the gentleman that showed up was a farmer. And he also lives next to, in the area of, oh, I forgot the name of that. There's a Mosaic. And he said that something may have traveled from Mosaic down here. And I thought, wow. I'm like, that's a pretty long distance. And I didn't say anything to him because I thought, because it was really strong.
Right.
So, talking with the EPC on Monday, I got confirmation it was a 2-mile-per-hour wind. It was coming out of the north, and I'm still baffled, thinking to myself, how can that get from there to here? Especially by the time they got here, the wind was dead. So I mean, it was off and on, and I even went out there and took video of it to show the wind on and off, on and off.
So you basically got this horrible smell, and it's almost like a guessing game to find out which farm it's coming from, which pesticide it is, and if anyone's even really regulating this. Isn't there schools, isn't Dover Elementary right around here, and can you still smell this extremely strong smell when this is going on too? When school is in session, I mean?
Well, they were having an open house over in Dover, and the Dover Community Action Group contacted me and asked me if I would help them. So I went over there and we had a meeting, and I met with everybody and introduced myself. Because I really don't know what I was doing, but at least people were helping me try to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Right.
So we had a meeting, and the Dover Elementary School had an open house. So I thought, I'll just go out there and talk to some parents and try to wake them up to the smell and everything like that. There was no waking anybody up. Everybody knew what the smell was. They even knew where it was coming from. They were pointing me to the field down the way. And I was like, really? And a lot of them spoke Spanish. So I had to ask permission, their mom, if their child could translate what I was trying to ask them. And I got everybody's permission because I didn't want to violate the,
Right.
anyways, I don't know what it's called. So when the child would translate, they're like, oh, yeah, Paladin, over there. And so I went by the fields, and the sign was set back next to the fields. So I found out that it was called Paladin, and I was really shocked. That because before I even went over there, I wanted to talk to people and try to figure out, oh my gosh, and I was going there. The whole purpose was to go there to, wake up people what the smell is, da-da-da-da-da.
They were already familiar with the smell, apparently.
Yeah. And
But had they connected the dots as to what it was and to the illnesses
they were telling
too?
me.
Wow. So then what was their recourse? Did they have any way to go about this, or were they just kind of dealing with it or leaving town?
No talk. And they put their heads down, everybody's walked.
So they didn't want to talk about it at all. Can you talk about the farmers and their reaction? I mean, I know obviously you're not anti-farmer. You just don't want to smell this. I mean, is that pretty much correct?
Yeah, and that's been the whole thing. I know we were on a radio station called 88.5, and I wish I had a little bit more time to speak and tell them that it's like we just want them to believe us. Everybody's got to put food on somebody's table. I mean, when you look across the United States, it's the farmers that are putting food on the table. But at what price, and this is my opinion, but at what cost to humanity? I mean, you want bigger yields, but at what cost to humanity? The Amish have been farming for how long? Organic farmers have been farming for how long? Surely, I mean, now we have aquaponics and everything's with water. I mean, there's so many different ways to farm now. I talked to Vicky at the Brandon neem trees or something like that. Anyways, I learned about neem oil, and there's a place up in Georgia where they're using neem oil. And I talked to the owner, and they're having great success with it. And I'm like, well, how do I get you down here to Plant City to talk to the farmers? He's booked.
Wow.
He's really booked.
So there are solutions. There are alternatives to this. It sounds like you just really need to get the word out. More people need to know about what's going on in Plant City, it seems like. Do you have a resource? Where can people go to find out more or to get in contact with you? Maybe they're suffering from some of these illnesses and they need the resources.
Well, yeah, and then that's where, like for us, especially when I called down to the hospital, I spoke with this one lady, and her family has flu-like symptoms. And I said, yeah, that's it, flu-like symptoms. And I said, but what if it's not the flu? And that just kind of, and then she started asking me all kinds of questions.
Mhm.
So, sulfurodorsmell.com is one website, and that's basically, that's kind of a website. It's for just like how to approach all of this. And the individuals that are running the website are very knowledgeable, where everything is on floridapesticides.com. And I'm trying to make the site more easier to navigate, but if there's something you want to know or anything like that, it's both sites would be like info@sulfurodorsmell.com or info@floridapesticides.com. Florida Pesticides, I'm not gonna, it's very hard to navigate because sulfur odor smell, like I said, is just for just to make it easy to navigate for people that, that aren't like me, that aren't real, trying to navigate a website. It's like trying to pull teeth. It's like which one needs to come out.
Right.
Where Florida Pesticides is where a bunch of us are putting the research that we're finding, and we're putting it on this website, and we're doing it to help educate the farmer and to let them know it's like we're really getting sick. I got a letter because I emailed a farmer. I thought I had it on good authority from the neighbor that such and such had purchased the field against us, over there. And so when I sent them an email, it was like, oh, I should have done my research. So it's technically two farmers, two fields, two farmers. And so I get a nasty gram to please govern yourself accordingly. And I was letting them know, this is what's been going on, and this is what I've been, working with. I wanted them to know in a nice way. It's like, this is what's been going on behind the scenes,
Right.
and to give them a heads up, so to speak, and to let them know that, it's like where I go in and I edit the photos. Like I'll take out the names and anything that can recognize the farmer, because I don't want the farmer getting heat for all this. But then it got to be so overwhelming, and then I got, there was K-PAM being applied to one of the fields over in Dover, and I was asked to go out there and take pictures. So I was just going to go out there and take pictures, I'm not thinking nothing of it, and I don't know, maybe I'm too childlike, but, I'm taking pictures, and this car, or this truck, comes up in front of the vehicle that I'm driving. And I didn't know who it was, and I was just like, I'm just a friendly person. I don't have no hate for anybody.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I'm Joanna McGrath. He's like, oh, I know who you are. And he's like, you're a pain in the butt, and I'm gonna do something about it. And I was just like, I'm a pain in the butt. I was like, I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt. I'm trying to help, trying to get the information out, what's going on behind the scenes,
Right.
so that at least they'll look at their situation and say, oh my gosh, they're really getting sick. It's our children's future.
Right.
Look at Apopka, Sportsman's Paradise, Ventilate. Look what that's done. There's a farmer that even, wonders to this day if there was contamination to the water. You can tell the ones that are good stewards of the land and really care, but then there's the other ones, it's like, they're like, oh, they're just troublemakers, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, we're really not.
Right. You have the best intentions at heart here. Well, if you found this information useful, and if you're in the area, please share it, and please tell others about this. This is a very important issue that needs to be addressed. It doesn't seem like it's being addressed enough. People are still getting sick, and we can farm without harming our neighbors and our community. And I just want to thank you again, Joanna,
Thank
so
you for
much.
coming out.